outside of your party.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Second idea. Would you be down eventually to play mini D&D sessions at the end of this live stream? Like game time with Doc, would whether Doc is DMing or my schedule shifts and I'm able to DM, would you be down for 30 to 45 minute small sessions?
Like at the end of these shows?
Yeah.
No.
Like while we live stream. No?
No. I don't want to play D&D on camera. I don't want to play it for other people.
Well,
okay.
I told you that before. I don't want to play that on camera. Like
we
as
talked
a
about
general
playing
rule of
masks
thumb.
on camera.
Huh?
We talked about playing masks on camera.
Yeah. I'm not super thrilled about that idea either.
Okay. Well, we are live, everybody. So we're getting ready to do our sound check and everything. So let's do that real quick. Let's make that. Let's see here. I'm on my screen. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Check.
Check 1 2.
Hello. I am live streaming front facing because it is raining and I will see nothing if I have the light on instead.
That's fine. And actually, I love the look of rain anyway. So you're always going to appeal to me when you show rain. I love it when it rains. Anyway, it's like that one song, I'm only happy when it rains. I love it. Let me bring the chat pop out before I forget, and then I'll switch over to our other things. Normally, I would have even had our splash coming soon thing up, but I didn't even think to change it over, so they've been seeing this at the beginning. Anyway, welcome to Game Time. We're here every Tuesday from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. I'm so used to hearing Eastern Standard on a lot of commercials. We're here Central Standard Time, 8 to 10, with myself, Doc, Lurch, and Angel. Angel's screen, you can just see, like he said, the road in front of him, because Angel often broadcasts while he's driving with his we call it day job, but it's often at night. And so having the light on in the cab could be a distraction while it's raining and stuff. So he also sometimes has the light off and puts it forward facing if he's got like a headache and the light would have disturbed his head. So that's why we didn't do it last week. This week it's because, the rain, he has to focus a little bit more on the road, and we don't want any accidents around here.
Safety is very important.
Safety is very important, but we're just glad to have Angel with us as always. Sometimes his work is such to where we can't even get him in, but most weeks we get Angel, and we're quite thankful for it. For those who don't know, Game Time came about because me and Lurch and our original co-host, Greg Pullman, were part of the board of directors for GAME, the Gaming Arts Media Entertainment Expo, which just had its last convention on October of this year. It was our 12th one, and that brought us together. And what we did is during the COVID time, when we weren't able to have a live convention, to stay in touch with our friends, family, and fellow nerds out there, is we started this show. And Greg left at the beginning of the year because his schedule got to be really busy, although he still does board game night over at Holdfast Brewing Company on the third Wednesday of every month. So you can go out and see him there for that. And he still often streams on Thursdays around 10 to noon, I believe it is, where he plays different social games. And that's on, what is that? What is the name of his stream again?
Queen City Cardboard?
Yes.
Great.
Queen City Cardboard. Yeah. Exactly. I can remember Cardboard, and I was trying to remember the rest of it. So you can check him out there. But we had often had a special guest, which is Angel, who would come in when we were doing things like certain Marvel movies or kaiju movies and stuff, because he's quite knowledgeable in that area. And he has joined us as our third host, and he's been with us now for a couple of months as a regular on the show. and we talk about anything and everything in the Nerdosphere. Even though game is over with, we're not over with, and we're going to keep going as long as we possibly can. Lurch, of course, specializes mostly in the console gaming aspect as his particular area of expertise.
I did. So it's kind of fuzzy how to think of it. I just bought a Steam Deck. It just got delivered. So I might be getting in a little bit into the PC gaming world, but I'm still counting this as a game console.
Steam Deck counts as a pseudo console. It does. So I could see where that would come in. But Lurch is our electronic gaming guy. At Game, he actually ran the electronic gaming area. He also ran it this year at Geekmas. So, Lurch is our guru when it comes to electronic gaming. And Angel was his co-host when they used to stream video games on Left Claw Studios. So, obviously, Angel's a little bit involved with the electronic gaming as well. But he mainly talks about Dungeons and Dragons topics right now on the show. And then I talk about a little bit of everything all through the Nerdosphere. I usually don't step on too much electronic gaming unless it's MMOs, because I'm not nearly the console gamer that these two are. But we cover quite a bit of things. And then all of us come together at the end of the show. The last half of the show is usually dedicated to media with spoilers in many cases, because we cover things like the CW verse of TV shows. We cover the Disney Plus shows, and we cover the new and upcoming movies that we've heard about and have seen for everybody. In fact, when a movie first comes out, the first couple of weeks we'll do a non-spoiler overview of some of the movies, and then a week or two later we'll do a spoiler episode for that. So that's the general gist of the show. And this week is kind of a special. So we're going to intro with a couple of topics at the beginning, and then we're going to roll right into coverage of the Video Game Awards from last week, because last Thursday, was the Video Game Awards live shows, and Lurch is going to cover a lot of that. And then we'll go in and just cover a little bit of media at the end. But that being the case, we're going to start off with Angel's first topic, which has to do with the D&D CEO making a bit of a statement. So go ahead and take it away, Angel.
So an investor meeting kind of revealed WotC's D&D head. I believe he is like the CEO of Dungeons and Dragons, and he's considering. He's talking to investors about how video games tend to have they have all these microtransactions and subscriptions, and D&D doesn't have any of that, and he thinks they're missing out on a potential financial issue with that. So they're talking about different ways to not only take our money for books that are supposed to last for years, but like trying to figure out ways to attack our. They already have a lot of ways, right? Like they sell official minis, and they constantly have new books coming out. I feel like video games tackle that in the form of DLCs. That's my opinion on it. I think they're doing a great job, but apparently that's what they want to turn one D&D into, and that kind of like goes against and that just makes me feel kind of gross.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I think one of the appeals, I could be wrong, I think one of the appeals of Dungeons and Dragons is that you can get a lot of fun for a relatively low budget if that's what you can afford, like if you have only the DM needs to spend a considerable amount of money, anyone else just needs to fit with that $150 book.
$100 should be able to get you the entire 4 set of like the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Player Handbook, and the Monster Manual. Right. And that's all you fucking need. That's if you even need the Dungeon Master's Guide.
Yeah, if you're a player, you don't need anything but the Player Handbook, really.
Yeah, and so, that's kind of like WotC's issue, right? Is they are selling books that last forever.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's been an ongoing concern.
This reminds me. I'm so sorry. This reminds me of a convention in Geneva that does actually occur about that various light bulb companies, and this is real. Various light bulb companies that get together and talked about planned obsolescence. Planned obsolescence is a idea that objects and stuff have a planned lifetime where they don't need them to. Because if they sold light bulbs that lasted your entire life, you'd be giving light bulbs to your children. You never need to do it. And they create equipment that only lasts a certain amount of time.
Yep.
People create by hand light bulbs that last for hundreds of years. And so they hold these conventions annually about how planned obsolescence should be working in the light bulb industry. And that's what's fucking happening with D&D.
Who gets the light bulbs in the will?
Yeah. Planning the failure of D&D. I'm sorry?
You were breaking up there for a second. But, okay, this has been an ongoing concern with D&D, and it's part of the reason that TSR had their major financial difficulties. D&D as a game is great because, yes, you do only have to buy the core set of books, and then that can play, several people can play with just one core set of books. And then, you might sell an occasional extra like a miniature or an adventure or extra player handbooks to the players, or some of the splat books might come out. But for the most part, you don't need that to play. And it's always been a problem with the monetizing of the game to keep the business afloat. That's the real issue that they have here, because of it. And I think what they're talking about is trying to cash in on that same microtransaction craze that has kept video games going in monetization.
That is exactly.
So what are they going to do? Start releasing new subclasses and pamphlets for $15
well,
each?
No. I'll tell you exactly what they're doing, because this is what I suspected they were doing when they announced One D&D. They said with One D&D that you will never, their hope is with One D&D they'll never have to release another edition. And what that means is that they're going to be trying to go fully digital with all of their books on D&D Beyond, so that you have to pay a subscription to access them, so that you can. I mean, that's why, right? That has to be why.
Well, and they have started monetizing on D&D Beyond. I don't know if you've noticed it, but if you go into the marketplace on D&D Beyond, you can microtransaction some parts of books if you only want parts of them. Like a new race is introduced, you can just unlock that race for a fraction of the price of the book. And then later on, if you want to get the whole digital book, it'll discount you for the amount you spent on the
sure. It's
microtransaction.
I pay $5, maybe $6 a month for the highest thing as a DM to allow everybody to join my sessions, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm already paying a ticket price. Imagine if that price is increased, and now I need it in order to access the books that I bought.
Well, I don't think they're going to lock out access. I think they're going to do it more like how Voodoo does it, where once you buy it, you own it. But
that doesn't give them money again. That's the same problem that you have by selling it physically.
I think they're going to do subscription for things like the virtual tabletop, and for maybe access to the builder program and the encounter builders and all the tools will be on the subscription. And then the other is probably going to be a focus on those microtransactions, like the parts of books when new stuff comes out, and of course buying the digital versions of the books. Like we had a whole discussion about a few sessions back of the pros and cons, and of course we came in on different sides of that particular discussion.
I don't think D&D needs to be one of those things that just needs to make them an exorbitant amount of money.
I'm reading this article you shared with us in the link, and from the way this is reading, they think that the DMs are spending enough money, but the players aren't. Listen to this. So, I'm trying to go back to the start of the sentence. As reported by Dicebreaker, Hasbro CEO Chris Cox and Wizards of the Coast CEO Cynthia Williams are looking to grow the future of Dungeons & Dragons through, quote, the type of recurrent spending you see in digital games, end quote. Highlighting the fact that Dungeon Masters, or Game Masters, players who run the game and control all non-player characters and monsters, spend the most on the hobby through rulebooks and digital services, Williams bemoaned the fact that players just aren't spending enough to play in the company's fantasy world. She described D&D's current state as, quote, under-monetized. So, they want to get everybody, not, it sounds like they think the DMs are doing enough, but the players, they want to get all the players to pay for a subscription fee too.
If you got a team of 4 people and 1 DM, you got 1 out of 5 people paying for their product.
Yeah,
I fucking get it, but still, that's the kind of model they set up.
And the truth of the matter is, even though, like you said, it's like 1 DM to generally 3 to 5 players, in actuality, the DM to player ratio in the game is closer to like 10%. There's only 10% that are DMs because a single DM could run 2 or 3 or 4 tables in a week, depending on the DM. Some of the hardcores, I used to run 7 games a week. So the people that are hardcore DMs only represent 10 or 15% of the overall D&D community, but they are 90% of the purchasers. They spend 90% of the money, and they're only 15% of the actual people that are benefiting from the product. So from a business standpoint, not from a player-centric or customer-centric standpoint, but from a business standpoint, you can't understand why they're looking at it this way. It's just how to do it without alienating your client base at the same time is the...
I don't think you can do it without... I don't think you can micro-transact regular players without alienating your player base.
Well, they've done it to an extent with D&D Beyond when they did the incremental stuff in the to unlock stuff for like the character builder like people were doing. That actually was a great success. A lot of players liked that ability to go in and instead of having to buy like this new book just because they want one race out of it or one class out of it, being able to pay a $2 or $3 microtransaction to get that unlocked just so they can use it in their character builder. And then with the ability to, like, as a DM account on D&D Beyond to then share that microtransaction unlock with everybody in the group was something that they liked. It's just, if they keep it doing stuff like that, I think it'll be acceptable to more players like you guys. But
it makes me kind of like think that, all D&D Beyond is like the only thing we use it for. The only thing we use it for is for character building, like our character sheets, right?
Yeah.
Like, I could fucking, what I could do? I could fucking make a character sheet creator. Like, so fucking easy. That is just an Excel spreadsheet. That's all that fucking is.
Yeah.
Oh, there are dozens of them out there too. It's not just
like that's the only reason why we have D&D Beyond, and it's just like it feels like if I already have the book, I should be able to get a code. If I bought that book new, I should have a code for digital.
We're not getting back into that argument.
Quick question. How much are you paying a month for your subscription to D&D Beyond?
I think like $6.
Okay. So, like, it's not a lot, but, like, I could see a player who plays, a couple of times a month, well, okay. It is, for a player, that is not much that they're providing for the money, right? like for a DM, it lets you manage multiple campaigns, I think, right? But for a player, I mean, all it is, it lets you look up stuff which you can do for free. If you want to look up digital versions of stuff, you can just pull it up on any website that you can get your information anywhere else.
Well, anything that's covered by the system document is free to look up.
The D&D wiki has every information that exists in any book on their website for free.
Yeah. So I mean, here's the thing that they got to remember is, I understand they want to try to make more money, but they have to provide a product that you're paying for. You pay, $8 or $10 a month for Netflix, and you're getting these millions of things to watch, whatever. They put out new shows every couple of weeks of new content that they're making that they're spending millions of dollars to make. How much money is D&D spending to keep up those spreadsheets for your character sheets,
Well,
yeah, not only that, but like you're looking at every single character that you make, like very okay. So what the problem they have to figure out is, what are players not spending money on, and how can we make them spend money on it? Is the problem they're bringing to their investors that they're solving, and that's a ridiculous problem where they are cultivating an extra unneeded expense, and I think that's where my anger lies.
But it also depends on what they add in as additional benefit in the subscription. Like right now, as a player, you can be a subscriber to D&D Beyond and not pay because you get your first, was it 3 or 5 characters?
6.
Is it 6?
Yep.
Yeah, that you can play without even paying. So if they kept that format, it would make a lot of people happy. And then, of course, you join your DM's campaign, and then you have access to all your DM stuff. And that makes them still happier. The things that they're adding on to the subscription service is, of course, they're going to do their own proprietary virtual tabletops, so people aren't going to things like Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds to play. They're going to play on their virtual tabletop. They're adding in the encounter builders, the character builders, and the unlimited number of character storage, which they have to maintain the server upkeep for. There's all these
text documents are like kilobytes stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the virtual tabletop stuff can use up a little bit more because it's got it interactive. But the thing is, they have to have enough value add to balance it out. And then doing stuff like the microtransactions for parts of books is a good way for them to do the monetization, because you can choose to get the full book and just one DM or one player get it and it's shared by everybody. Or you can choose to get just the one race that everybody wants and in the microtransaction with a smaller fee and do it. If they do some stuff like that, that's going to be okay. But if like you fear, Angel, that they make every player get a subscription, even for those initial first 5 or 6 characters, or something like that, then yeah, it might turn a few people away at that point, because they've got the sharing thing going on already, which is good. They've got the microtransactions for just what you want, bite-sized pieces of some of the books. That's actually a good way to offer a microtransaction in this situation. But like you said, if it becomes required that the only way you can do it is digitally, they're going to have to make sure the value add is sufficient to justify it.
Yeah. I just went into the D&D Beyond real quick just to kind of look at it, and yeah, like for free you can do 6 characters, and then if you want an unlimited number of characters, you pay a subscription fee. Mm-hmm. And in the cheapest being $3 a month for players.
Right.
DM stuff is $6, and then that's the only 2 tiers. So my thinking here is so this article, and then this meeting they basically kind of gave a nebulous statement of we want to figure out how to monetize like video games do with their DLC, but there's no statements about how they intend to do that. And we're all kind of like ballparking ideas on what they could do, but they already do all that, with the exception of taking things away from people. Saying you don't get to have a use of our website at all if you don't pay a subscription is about the only thing they can do.
Well,
to maybe limit it to one character or something.
Well, DLC is already happening with modules, which could be considered DLC.
Right.
And it's like that's been happening for years, and they just now made this statement with investors. So that's where the worry is that they're ramping up what they're planning on doing.
Well,
in terms of getting more money from their players.
Yeah, I think the only two things I can think of they could do is to try to punish people who already like the services by charging them for what they already get for free, or just put out more of this expansion content for people to buy. But at a certain point, there might be diminishing returns on it.
I will say that whenever you use the term microtransactions, there's been a lot. I've never been happier after having bought a microtransaction. DLCs are different. DLCs have for meat to the game that you can use for the rest of the time that you own the game. It's a one-time purchase.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about microtransactions, you're talking about buying in-game currency or buying characters that you can't get otherwise, and it just doesn't make you feel good when you spend money.
Well, it depends. Like for instance, one of the things that they're talking about doing once the virtual tabletop is all the way in, that they haven't really done yet, that would be an additional monetization that they could add, and they are talking about doing it, is virtual 3D miniatures for their virtual tabletop that you would buy in packs.
Yeah.
And that's something they could do, and I see people considering that as a value add microtransaction. If they want that level, and if they don't want it, they don't get it. Because there's still the ability to make like tokens and stuff that are generic. So that's something that they could do, and they've already said it in previous posts that they plan to do it for their virtual tabletop. That's value add stuff. But like Angel says, there are some things that are not necessarily considered value add, like making you pay for something now that you were getting for free before, like making all players have to be a subscriber, period, and there's no free or only one free character instead of 6, and downgrading stability.
I hope that what they're doing, what their plan is, that statement, I hope it's benevolent. But knowing what WotC is doing with Magic and stuff like that, it kind of scares me a little bit, because I am feeling that they're being, like Hasbro certainly is being very greedy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. That's kind of like where my worry is in the forefront. I normally wouldn't be worried with a statement like that if it wasn't already all this other bullshit that's happening.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know enough about their products to be able to throw out a lot of things or things that they're not doing, but I'm just like trying to ballpark ideas. Like they could put out special editions of books that have like different colors and different art, but it's the same rules, but it's got special edition stuff, because book nerds like their special editions.
Well,
I mean, I'm more of a video game nerd, and I just spent $300 on Final Fantasy 16's collector's edition.
Well, like physical books that come out with special edition covers right now. For Dungeons and Dragons, if you got like the Waterdeep campaign, there's 2 covers. There's a special edition.
The Tasha, I got the special edition Multiverse of Madness Tasha's and the Xanathar's Guide to Everything. I got the white cover. You got the black cover.
Yeah.
I keep trying to come up with ideas for ways they could improve their monetization options, and they're already doing all of them.
Well, that's the monetization of the physical. What they're talking about is they need to monetize more of the digital.
They're not being specific, I don't think.
They didn't say that. Yeah, they didn't say that.
They're just talking about the hobby as a whole needs to be more monetized.
Here's the thing they could do. This same thing that I've been saying before. If they want to digital aspects of the minis, make them like $1, right? But also make them available to people who buy the minis physically as like little scan or little codes that you can put in to get the digital versions in D&D Beyond. Like the ideas of like, you know, if you buy an official WotC dice, you should be able to input that digitally, so you don't have to buy it twice.
Does D&D Beyond have a digital game board like Roll20 does?
They're working on it.
No, they're making it. They're making it for 1D&D.
Okay.
Yeah.
When they finish that, then they could do some more monetization with having where you can buy custom little tokens and stuff of different kinds of art.
Yeah,
I think that's one way they could do.
Yeah, that's what we're saying is like even if they do that, I'll be really pissed if I spend money, new money, not old money, new money on wanting to get a minifig and then it, you know, like I want to play it. Something we're doing to give context for why that kind of upsets me, and Lurch knows this, is I just built a table. And that table is to house a 55-inch television so we could play D&D kind of like hybrid, so I could build maps and whatnot so we can play in person on that table. It's supposed to save room for us and make it a lot easier for me to build maps.
Right.
That look interesting, visually appealing. And so we'd be using, and then also having figures that, you know, like physical figures is important because we're playing it physically. But also sometimes people can't make it, and Lurch still wants to be able to play. And he's had to play because he was sick once, so he had to play over. Like, so having a little figure inside of the game and also outside of the game would make sense if he bought a new minifigure just for that, right?
Right.
Dude, yeah, I legit, if they get this all working and everything, I would pay money for a digital blue dragon character. You know, blue dragonborn piece.
But what Angel is saying is that he doesn't want to pay separately for it. He wants to buy it in the store and then scan it and get a free copy in the digital tabletop.
Ideally, I would like that. I don't realistically seeing that being the case. I do still agree on the books part, but on the figures, I don't see that realistically
but they're treating
being
the books just like
thing.
they would treat like other books. Like when you buy a physical copy of like Lord of the Rings, they expect you to, if you want to get it on Kindle, to buy it again.
Actually, that's a really good point. I didn't think about last time we had this conversation.
I forgot to bring it up too.
But Jeremy Robinson, one of my favorite authors, he does kaiju novels, thriller novels. And I bought his entire series of books, and each book came with a code that allowed me to get it on Kindle for free.
Right. But a lot of times that's considered as a perk, like we were talking before. And this would be the same thing.
That's what absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's like, if they wanted it to have a perk, sure, but I bought the books physically and got a code to scan them digitally, and that's the kind of service that I would like for D&D.
Well, and that's what D&D is talking about doing possibly, is that as a perk if you buy direct from them. That's why it still counts as a perk if you buy from them, but not necessarily buying from like Amazon or
the problem with that is if they negate it from like, you know, local hobby shops, that makes it harder on the hobby shops.
Yeah, but that's one of the things that a business typically does to try to promote their store.
Yeah, we're not going to start this whole. We have a lot to talk about today. I don't want to spend an hour on an argument we spent an hour and a half on before.
I honestly made my point. So I'm good to move on if you could.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to move on then. Next up, I just wanted to make a real quick shout out. A show dropped today on Amazon Prime. It's called the Dr. Seuss Baking Challenge, and I binge watched the whole thing today. Where 9 teams of bakers had to come together and do different Dr. Seuss themed baking challenges based on the books of Dr. Seuss, with the specific books pointed out from episode to episode. And
they better have been green eggs and ham at some point.
Green eggs and ham was in there. How the Grinch Stole Christmas is in there. They started with Cat in a Hat and they ended in the finale with Horton Hears a Who. So they hit a lot of the really big ones. And as you can see by the picture I've got up, they actually, and this is actually of one of the cakes that was in the show, the people that were decorating were making sure to put the signature line star drawing method on the cake. See how it does the accent lines and everything, which is Dr. Seuss. They were
I
really
can't see
good.
it, but I can imagine it. It's pretty great.
Yeah, you can't see it, but yeah. So because I'm, of course, Doc, one of the main reasons I'm called Doc is for Dr. Seuss, and Dr. Seuss is a big part of nerd culture. Theodore Geisel was an amazing man. I wanted to point out when I saw this and then watched it all that this is a great show for people who like cooking shows, but also like to see things themed in the Dr. Seuss world. And the prize for the winning team was the key to the Seuss City, being in the Seuss Hall of Fame, and $50,000. So they got a lot of like nerd cred for being like a VIP in the city of Seuss and getting the key to the city. So that was kind of cool as well. Very nerd-like kind of trophy that we would appreciate. And so I just wanted to point it out real quick. It's not a major thing, but since it dropped today on Amazon Prime, which a lot of us are Amazon Prime members for one reason or another, it'd be a great show to watch if you do like that kind of show. If you like cake decorating, if you like Seuss-themed things, if you like, challenges, cooking challenges.
Did they do 1 fish, 2 fish, 3
red fish, blue fish?
That one was not covered, I don't believe.
What?
I know. It was
Criminal.
They did Fox
Criminal.
and Socks. They did.
Okay, everybody boycott the show.
Well, they might have saved that for the next season.
Yeah.
But they did Fox and Socks. They did the Places They Will Go. They did If I Ran the Circus, which is the one that I was kind of surprised and gratified that they did. They did the Lorax. So they did several of them, but they didn't do the speeches
Is that one the one about the circus? Isn't that the one that they stopped publishing a couple years back?
I don't think the circus one is. But there's a couple of them that they did stop publishing, and there was one that came out late that had been an unpublished one for a long time called Daisy Head Maisie that came out a while later. They've had so many different books in Dr. Seuss. Bartholomew Fox and his Amazing Adventures. They had things. So there's so many other books they could still cover, and that's probably what they've got planned if they can come back. Tamara, Tia and Tamara from the old Disney shows was the host, and then they had a couple of cake.
Oh, Tia and Tamara from Sister Sister? That's
yeah,
crazy.
not Tia. It was just Tamara, but I would say Tia as in from Tia and Tamara or Sister Sister, but Tia was the hostess. So, and she actually did several Seussian kind of rhymes when they introduced each book challenge, and she did them quite well. She pretty much did the rhyming really, really well too. So that was something that was worth watching as well. And although my favorite and second favorite did not win, I still can't argue with the results. It was really good. And I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who does watch it. But definitely go check it out. Another thing is the winner of each of the challenges on the individual episodes, that winner's recipe for the episode was made available as a link on Amazon where you could scan and go there and also order all the ingredients and stuff directly to Amazon Prime. So it was a great little tie-in to their marketing. And they put up a QR code on the screen that you can just scan with your phone from the screen to instantly go to the page to order, to get the recipe and or the ingredients. And the recipe is free. So that was a nice way when we talked about monetizing and marketing. that was a good thing for Amazon Prime as far as a marketing tie-in.
Yeah.
Anyway, didn't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I wanted to throw that out there as my first topic because I knew a lot of our topic this week is going to be on the video game awards. But let's go on to your next topic, Angel, because the video game awards is going to be all Lurch's kind of stick.
Yeah.
Okay. IDW is launching a new comic book series. Hopefully, it's a 4-part series to finish off the D&D 80s cartoon.
Yeah.
I hope it's to finish it off, but it might be just to continue it. We never got to finish.
Yeah, they never.
So this comes on the heel of Dragon of Stormbreak Isles. I believe is the name of it. A new starter set that they recently released where a lot of the character art represented those children.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of like every human in that character art except for one of them was represented as the kids from the D&D cartoon.
Yeah.
And so, I'm sorry?
And if you're like me, you grew up on this cartoon in the 80s. I mean, 80s
Yeah,
was my high school years.
Or if you're like me, you grew up on those cartoons. Because, like, I watched them in, like, 1995.
Right. Yeah, if you manage to find them in the later years, yeah, you still watched them because they were great.
Yeah, they're, I didn't watch all of them. We only had the channels to be able to watch that for, like, 6 months. So I probably only saw, like, a handful of the episodes, which I remember very clearly. There's like this one ongoing theme. I recently rewatched it, but there was one thing that I remembered even before I rewatched all of the series was Tiamat showed up randomly for no reason in every episode.
Just about. Tiamat and Venger showed up in almost every episode, and most of the episodes ended with Venger versus Tiamat flying away against each other at the end because the two evils just didn't like each other.
That was always like kind of interesting. So I'm personally excited. I'm going to be buying it. But I kind of want them to end the series. I think that'd be kind of cool. But
end it or turn it into an ongoing concern, one or the other.
I mean, it'd be cool if the kids like saved the world in the very first series, then went back to their own world, and then and then it's like them as adults, and they have to be called back by the dungeon master again in order to go back into this world to save it again after like 10 years of not being there. I just think that'd be such a wild concept for the series.
That could be, and when they come back, they actually end up back in their young kids' bodies.
Oh, that'd be weird.
But it would totally fit the
It sounds like the Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah, very C.S. Lewis. Very
C.S.
Lewis. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I've never seen it or read any of the books.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was in a play for Chronicles of Narnia when I was like 8 years old.
And
oh, really?
Mhm. I was way too shy. I played a statue because I wasn't willing to say lines on stage.
I loved C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis was a contemporary of J.R.R. Tolkien, and in fact was rumored to be the one that made the bet with Tolkien that he could not create his own language that eventually spawned The Lord of the Rings. But C.S. Lewis came out with the Chronicles of Narnia to prove that he could do it too. Yes.
The same one who did Alice in Wonderland? That's crazy.
No. C.S. Lewis, not Lewis Carroll.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
But no, Lewis.
Doc and I were both like, no.
Different Lewis. Lewis Carroll did The Walrus and the Carpenter and Through the Looking Glass and Alice in Wonderland. C.S. Lewis did The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and Prince Caspian and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader and 2 more books, which I can't think of the names right now.
It is so terrible I've not read or I've only ever heard of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Most people have only ever heard of the one book. Yeah.
It's the most famous one. It's the first book.
It's the first book. Yes, and it's about the Pevensey children and how they go into the world of Narnia through a magic wardrobe. Uh, and then later on in the other books, they find other ways to get into Narnia as the kids slowly grow up, and all the kids don't all come back. Uh, the younger kids keep coming back, but the older ones age out of it, kind of thing. C.S. Lewis is also kind of unique in the popular fantasy writers of that era because he was a devout Christian and he brought Christian connotations into his fantasy, but did not see a problem with it, which I thought was great because if you're going to be, don't stifle people's imagination and fantasy and love of wonder just because you have some religious hang-ups. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis was a devout Christian writer who wrote such brilliant fantasy. I mean, in Narnia, even Santa Claus shows up. So it's just a great fantasy novel series that doesn't preach at you, even though it's written by a Christian author. And I really love that.
Well,
go ahead.
I
I was just going to say from
no.
I was just saying from my, I was just kind of piggybacking what he's saying or agreeing with him that, his writing, C.S. Lewis's writing does definitely have like kind of a religious allegory to it in a lot of ways. It's never like ham-fisted at you. And so it's like if you stop and think about it, you can realize, like biblical connections to things throughout the writing, but it's never just like in your face, obnoxious
preachy
kind of stuff.
No,
and it's well written.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. I didn't finish the series, but I think it's because I didn't have access to the later books as a kid.
But it is, and they only made 3 movie adaptations. They never did finish the 5-book series.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. But yeah, anyway, it's very C.S. Lewis kind of thought processes that goes into like that idea for the kids once they kind of grow up. And it goes.
Man, I'm just happy they're taking another shot at like the old '80s cartoon. So I would appreciate a new series.
Oh, I would love to see a new series come out because I mean, who doesn't want to see the adventures of Presto, the bungling wizard?
No. I meant just in general of D&D,
right?
Like not specifically the '80s cartoon, because I do think we have enough of that. But we have. I mean, not enough of it, but we have a lot of it.
Well, there have been some cartoon adaptations of some of the D&D campaigns throughout the years. Especially Dragons of Autumn Twilight had a made-for-TV kind of direct-to-DVD movie animated with Dragonlance. So Dragons of Autumn Twilight you can find in a cartoon.
Did you notice on this page of your article, there's also an article further below about the Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves movie? The story of that is going to start in a comic book. There's a prequel comic book coming out.
Yeah, I've heard about that before.
Yes, I was going to mention that it's going to be focusing on the Bard. I did also see that. But we can. So I read most of these stories throughout the week and then scramble to stock and get with the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did. The Bard is supposed to focus on the Bard and tell you how he got to where he is.
Is Chris Pine the Bard?
Chris Pine's character. And if they focus on the Bard, then there's a good chance they're probably going to have a few cameos of Michelle Rodriguez's character because the way they introduce him in the preview, she's like a friend of Chris Pine's more directly than any of the others. And the other members of the cadre come in later, but Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez are kind of buddies. So
Did you see that a lot of the people are upset that the tiefling has human complexion, like they're not red or purple. But I must say that before it says that tieflings have red skin, it does say they also have human complexion.
yeah, it says that they run the gamut, but they can go into exotic colors like reds and purples, but they can also be pink-skinned or dark-skinned humans.
So actually, the player's handbook for fifth edition exclusively says tieflings are only shades that human beings have, and also shades of red, and no other shades. So purple
That
is generally not a color that tieflings are canonically allowed to have, even though every
that
tiefling anyone ever makes is purple.
that's in fifth edition. In fourth edition, when the tiefling was first really made as a primary race, they said that they could go for all kinds of exotic colors. Also, I think
Right?
in
No,
the,
no, no, no.
also
I've never.
in
I,
the
I,
in the tiefling expansion handbook for fifth edition, it says that they can go other colors.
I'm not gonna be one of those people, one of those DMs who are like, you can't have this tiefling because she's blue or he's
Yeah,
blue, you know.
right, right. And as it
but
is,
yeah,
they already show the versatility of D&D in the thing by allowing the tiefling to wild shape into an owlbear, which isn't considered a regular wild shape character uh, option. So they're showing right off the bat, which I think is brilliant when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, because that's the whole thing with D&D. Every table is different. They're showing that there is no such thing as a rule in D&D, just a guideline, because they can
yeah,
break
and
the rules.
oh, I'm sorry, go on.
No, I was finished.
Yeah, they also said that, or the creative director for D&D, and like kind of the guy who's just over D&D in general. God, what is his name? His name
Was
escapes me. I said it.
it Crawford or Perkins?
Yeah, Jeremy Crawford.
Jeremy
Jeremy
Crawford.
Crawford. Yeah, so he made a public statement saying at his table he allows players to wild shape into owlbears.
Right. Yeah, and Chris Perkins has allowed that kind of stuff in his campaigns too. And he used to do the Dragon Magazine article on writing campaigns. And one of the things he talked about in his writing of campaign article was the fact that you remember that your campaign world doesn't have to match anybody else's. And if you think something should be changed to fit your story, change it. That's exactly what he wants you to do. And that's
currently we're in a like Lurch and I and several others. Like I'm DMing a world that is Forgotten Realms, and it's largely Forgotten Realms, very largely changed or unchanged. But like if Lurch wants to be a blue dragonborn, like we made exactly how he wanted his character to fit into the world, and I really feel like that's important for whenever you're running a campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. Make it of your own. Like even if I almost always use my own homebrew, but if for instance, say I made a game that I was running for like a one shot or whatever in the Forgotten Realms. I personally don't like artificers, so in my Forgotten Realms world, even though artificers do exist, they wouldn't exist in mine because I don't allow artificers because that's my own personal view of the campaign world. On the other hand, there's other people that run a Forgotten Realms game and allow Warforged from Eberron into their Forgotten Realms campaign because they like the Warforged, and that's the thing. Everybody's campaign world, even their interpretation of an existing campaign setting, is still their own interpretation as the DM. The DM's character is the game world. Ultimately, the game world.
It's funny you say that because I'm sorry. Go on.
Yeah, the DM's character is the game world. All the NPCs are just the accessories to that character. But the world itself is the DM's character, and the DM has the ability to set the stage.
Anyway.
Monica's character. Oh, sorry.
We can literally spend 3 weeks just talking about what we do with our D&D campaigns.
Oh, absolutely. So anyway, anything more for this particular article?
No. That's
Okay.
pretty much it.
Great. I'm going to go in on to my next thing, which is my From the Vault, real quick, before we go into Lurch's Video Game Awards, and then we'll hit the last media at the very end of the show. But
I don't know if we're going to have room for any media by the end of the show.
If we can fit it in. We do have to cover Stargirl's last 2 episodes, but we can always push them back a week. And Willow is still an ongoing thing, so we can push that back too. But my real quick, because of the fact that it's holiday season and because Disney Plus has the new series, the Santa Clauses, coming out every week, I thought that a good From the Vault would be the 1990s The Santa Claus, the original Tim Allen movie, where Tim Allen becomes the new Santa Claus. What happens is the actual Santa Claus trips and falls off his roof, and by putting on Santa Claus's coat, Tim Allen has agreed to the Santa Claus, like a clause in a legal document, which makes him the new Santa. And so he spends the next...
Agree is a very strong term. But go on.
Yeah, but you agreed just by putting on the thing that he pulls out a card and says, oh shit, that's what I agreed to, god damn it. And he becomes Santa Claus. And it's really kind of neat how they've linked it up to the new TV series, is why I'm saying people should go back and rewatch. And there were 3 Santa Claus movies, including one with Jack Frost played by Martin Short.
Yeah.
But they were really good movies, and altogether they make a great Christmas holiday tradition to go watch again and have some fun with. Tim Allen, as always, he's very funny, comedic actor. He's got his own particular style that works really well in this context. And the new series also features Cal Penn, who's a brilliant comedic guy, as well as actually a brilliant mind. He's got a couple of degrees in political science and stuff. It's pretty amazing. But they tie the TV series into the movies in such a way that you're going to want to rewatch the movies if you haven't seen them in a while, or if you haven't seen them before watching the TV series. But that's most of what I wanted to say. So real quick from the vault, I'm not doing a Kickstarter this week because the one I was originally going to do turned out only had like 36 hours left, which breaks my 15-day minimum rule.
Oh my!
Because you don't have time to actually back them that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my From the Vault. Now we're going to pretty much turn most of the show over to Lurch for the Video Game World, as we said before, came out Thursday of last week.
Yeah. So the Video Game Awards was like a 3-hour event. They had various winners of all these different categories, and probably the most exciting was the new announcements and the previews and things like that. A surprising number of the games that was announced that night, or that they showcased, have release dates in the first half of next year, which was really cool to see. So yeah, we don't have a lot of time and we have a lot of content, so I'm going to try to get moving through it.
Okay, on a note, before that, you mentioned something in Facebook, and I wanted to point it out. Speaking of a video game that's coming out eventually, and a specific stance on it, Diablo 4's preview recently came out, but it's by Activision Blizzard, and so I wanted to reiterate in support of what you had said before, because of their current practices, I'm boycotting them until they do some major changes.
I won't either. I did a lot more reading after Lurch mentioned a lot of that stuff, and it just kind of breaks my heart.
And I watched the preview, and the preview does look amazing.
Yeah.
I love Diablo. I played every single Diablo, and it does kind of break my heart that they suck so hard.
Franchises. I love
Yeah,
that franchise.
that was on my list here. The Diablo, because that's where it was showcased, was at the Game Awards.
I had a feeling.
The new trailer. But yeah, since we're talking about it already, yeah, it had an awesome new looking trailer. I think they gave a release date, but we're boycotting that game at the moment until Bobby Kotick is out of the company. We've talked about it a few times in the past.
At minimum, Kodak has
Yeah,
to be out. Yeah.
at minimum, he needs to be out of the company.
But their misogynistic and abusive practices have to stop.
Yeah.
So Lurch actually talked to me about it before, and I looked into it, where a lot of the Diablo staff left the company.
Yeah.
And that like reading that story was like, yeah, okay, yeah, this Activision Blizzard, it needs to be boycotted.
Yeah. A news story came out just in the last week or so that revealed that a large chunk of the Diablo 4 developing team quit en masse at the same time because of toxic problems in the company. And there's a lot to it, and so
you can't have it.
Yeah, that could be a whole big thing on its own if we ever wanted to discuss it more. But we've talked about that enough. So I want to go ahead and get moving with some of the announcements from the night. Final Fantasy 16 got a new trailer. Looks really cool. And a June 22nd of 2023 is the release date. They just announced the release date. They also announced pre-orders are available, which I already put in my pre-order for the collector's edition, which you can only do at Squaresoft's website, according to the website I was on. So I pre-ordered it. Expensive as hell, but
and I have put a link to this article on the chat, so if other people want to go and watch the trailers.
Yeah. So, I for one cannot wait for Final Fantasy 16. The team that's wrote the story for Final Fantasy 16 is the same team of people who wrote the story for Final Fantasy 14 after a certain point. That has been. What's that?
Lightning Returns? Because that's my favorite Final Fantasy
14.
Oh, 14, right. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking Final Fantasy 15, right. Realm Reborn.
Yeah.
I have not played Final Fantasy 7, 14, Realm Reborn.
You didn't play the version of 14 that this team wrote. You played the original version. Yeah. And it got completely rebuilt. And the people who wrote the new story of the rebuilt Final Fantasy 14, which, keep in mind, that game's an ongoing game, putting out new story content every so many months or so. The team that was responsible for writing that wrote the story for Final Fantasy 16. So there's going to be a single-player, big RPG game written by the people who wrote the story of with some regard to be the best Final Fantasy story ever written. It's debated, but there's a lot of people who believe that, and I have to say, it's probably not my number one favorite, but it got damn good.
I think most people agree that 7 is probably the best, but 14 is pretty up there.
I think this 2, and it just 2 is the best. Sorry.
I think it's kind of argued between 7, 8, 10, and 14. I think those are like the 4 Final Fantasy games that are generally considered to have the best stories of all the and that's 4 games out of this is number 16 of their numbered games, not to count 10-2 and 13-2 and all the spin-offs and Dirge of Cerberus and all that extra stuff. So
10 is my favorite, but 7 is often considered the favorite. Yeah. But
6. I forgot. 6 is also one of the top most popular Final Fantasy games too.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up, From Software, the developers behind Elden Ring and a lot of those other games, Dead Souls and stuff, Demon Souls, I mean, Dead Souls. They announced Armored Core 6. Officially announced it, showed a trailer. It looks fucking gnarly. I've never really played the Armored Core games, but
I have in PlayStation 2. It was really fucking fun. I love giant robot fights.
Yeah. So they did say people were wondering if the gameplay was going to be like a Souls game or not, and they said no, it's going to be an Armored Core game. we're taking lessons we've learned from the last, decade, 20 years of making games and making these super popular, big hit Elden Ring games, which, by the way, Elden Ring won Game of the Year. And then in the same night that they won Game of the Year, they were able to announce their new Armored Core game. So that's probably feeling pretty good for the team. And yeah, they're promising this is going to be, very different than the Soulsborne type games that they make because it's a mech game. You're building and modifying and adjusting, and they want the things like that to matter. The decisions you make to modify your mech to matter. So this might be my first Armored Core game. We'll see. With Elden Ring winning Game of the Year, I'm thinking I'm going to have to. I don't have time right now, but I'm thinking about how the fact I need to try that game because.
May I say, Lurch? I have the PS2 version or the PS2 game if you want to.
So the Armored Core for PS2.
I have Armored Core 2. Yeah.
And that's an interesting point too, because Diablo, one of the distinctions of the Diablo franchise is that each Diablo has won Game of the Year as it's come out, and with the boycott on 4, that's probably not going to happen.
I don't know who's boycotting it other than us.
There's a few people that are boycotting different Blizzard Activision games and have publicly been doing it ever since a lot of the turmoil's been happening.
Yeah. So when it comes to the Game Awards, I don't know if Diablo has won Game of the Year. Like, a lot of these games will get Game of the Year at various publications. But I think the Game Awards is kind of like the Oscars for video games. Which interestingly, I was listening to an Xbox podcast recently and learned that Xbox Game Studios has never put out a game that won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. In 20 years of the Game Awards, since 2003, starting on Spike TV, in 20 years, Xbox has never won Game of the Year.
Can I ask what the tone of that conversation was? Was it like we are like we didn't win and isn't that kind of weird, or was it like we don't win and because there's so much good competition? Like what's the tone?
Yeah, it was more of the competition really, because they were looking at it. They're like looking at what games did win, and with the exception of 2003, because the 2003 winner was a Madden game. And when they brought that up, one of the guys went, "We have come a long way since then." But I think I heard the harshest criticism I've ever heard of Xbox on this podcast, and it was one of the guys, Gary Whitta. He said that the Xbox One is basically a tax write-off at this point for Microsoft because it was such a bad console. And he's like it got a few games of our beloved franchises, but they just weren't hitting it. They weren't the great games that we knew and loved from the 360 era. And then they were like, in 2021 we had some big titles, but they even admitted it's like 2020 we didn't have anything worth even nominating.
The entire Xbox One generation, I kept telling you, Lurch, even. I was like, I'm going to get the Xbox One eventually. I never did, because there was never a game that came out that I wanted to play.
Yeah. When I got my Xbox One, it was with the expectation of getting Scalebound, which was this really cool-looking action game where you played a warrior who had a dragon friend. Looked amazing. I got my Xbox, and then a week later they announced the game's canceled.
I had a very similar situation where I almost bought an Xbox instead of a PS4 because Xbox had this really cool thing where you make your own games, and it looked really awesome and intense, and the lighting and stuff. And it was
Studio.
Yeah, and that got me hyped for Xbox, and then they canceled that.
I mean, that one at least was out for a few years, and people were actually making games and making money off of it. But yeah, they did end that at some point. Anyway, moving on with our list, Hades 2 was announced, and it was shown gameplay trailer. So they actually showed some gameplay for it, and boy, this looks pretty. For a cel-shaded kind of art style, it looks really pretty. It reminded me that I never got around to playing the Hades, and people weren't expecting a sequel. People were hoping for, that the developer would make another game. It was like before, like as it started, before it revealed the title, it was like, oh, this has kind of a Greek look to it, because like they had like these witches with like these the moon star symbols on their head. I was like, oh, looks like some Greek themed witches here. Yeah, and the main boss of it looks like the main villain is Kronos. They're trying to take out the god of time for some
Uh,
reason.
a little funny story, a little meaningless. It's very short, like 30 seconds. A really funny thing is like Hades. I began to really hate Hades because one of my exes, whenever it came out, would not stop sending me videos of him playing it. Like, oh look, this is amazing. This is cool. This is amazing. Look at how hot this guy is. This is great. And it's just like I got so fucking sick and tired of it. I had to ask him to stop sending me fucking videos of Hades.
Moving on from there, if do you guys know the name Ken Levine?
No.
Ken Levine was the creator of BioShock. He made the original BioShock and the third BioShock, BioShock
Yeah.
Infinite. He has a new game coming out called Judas. Um, he's been working, he's been working in secret on this game for years. Like we knew he was working on something, we had no idea what it was. It has kind of a similar feel in certain ways to the BioShock world. You got like superpowers on the left hand, gun in the right hand, first person, kind of action game, and it has this kind of kooky stylings. I love BioShock, and so I'm looking forward to this game. Here, I'll read what it gave here for the official press release. A disintegrating starship, a desperate escape plan. You are the mysterious and troubled Judas. Your only hope for survival is to make or break alliances with your worst enemies. Will you work together to fix what you broke, or will you leave it to burn? And in the trailer, it shows.
Awesome.
Yeah, it does. And like in the trailer, it shows her, like this female figure, talking about how there's these three people, and she needs to choose one of them to work with to try to escape. But all three of them are horrible for these different reasons. Like this one's a murderer, this one's blah blah blah. Who can I trust to not stab me in the back? Probably none of them. But I got to work with somebody to escape this place, or something like that. And I was like, "Ooh, that's an intriguing premise. Like, they're all terrible people, but you got to pick somebody to work with."
That's
Yeah. And so, and after ever since the ending of BioShock and had that whole little reveal at the end of that game, I don't want to spoil it, even though it's like a 15-year-old game. I'm looking forward to seeing what else this guy has to do. All right, so moving on from there, this is my personal favorite announcement, but it's some bias there. Hideo Kojima announced Death Stranding 2 with a reveal trailer. I was a huge fan of the Death Stranding game. I put a ton of hours and time into it. Kind of got obsessed with it for a while. The new trailer shows Sam Bridges a bit older than he used to be. The baby is now a toddler. I think it's the same baby. It looks like him and Fragile's in like a relationship together. I know none of this means anything to people who didn't play the game. But if you're a fan of the game, know that the sequel has been announced. No word on when it'll drop. It'll probably be a couple of years, but at least we now know it's getting a sequel. I think there was a moment where it showed the baby turn into a black squid thing. That gets kind of creepy and weird. But it's the kind of thing you hope for from a Kojima project. One thing that was curious is he mentioned on stage how he had wrote the script for this game before the pandemic, and then after the pandemic, he scrapped the script and rewrote the whole thing from scratch, and then made a joke about how he didn't want to predict the future anymore. Moving from there, we got a reveal for Cyberpunk 2077's new DLC that's coming out called Phantom Liberty. Got a new gameplay trailer and got some cutscene stuff. and they announced Idris Elba will be a character in that game, in the DLC. I don't know exactly what it is, but
But he's
what
been
he's
blowing
doing
up
in the
a lot lately. Yeah.
But yeah, Idris Elba is freaking great. For those who don't recognize the name, he played Heimdall in the Thor movies.
Oh,
He was in the Dark Tower movie.
he was in the
Um,
Suicide Squad.
yeah. Suicide Squad. He was in that show Luther.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luther.
I tend to say Luthor because I'm so used to Lex Luthor,
Lex
but this
Luthor,
is just
yes.
Luther ER.
Mr. Luthor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, they got some grade A talent for this DLC. Curiously, unless I'm mistaken, this DLC is going to be next-gen consoles only. So PS5, Series X, it won't be playable on PS4s and Xbox Ones. Which, given how rough the game still runs on those older platforms, I get it. It makes sense.
Right.
We got a reveal trailer for Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And confirmed a March release date, March 17th. God,
I'm
that
so
game.
fucking excited for this game.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Cal Kestis's next adventure. It gave us a little bit of gameplay footage showing him like riding on animals and gliding down with an animal carrying him around, dual wielding lightsabers, using a saber with a crossbar. This is a sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. In case it wasn't clear. And it says, he's become stronger and more powerful of a Jedi Knight, but unfortunately the Empire has also gotten stronger as well. Oh, that's a day one play for me. And then we already talked about Diablo. Huh? Yeah, that's a get hyped moment there. And then Diablo 4, we already talked a little bit about that. It's coming out June 6th. Or in my heart, it comes out the day Bobby Kodak's fired.
Right.
Um,
The day that Blizzard gets reorganized. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Street Fighter 6 got a June 2nd release date. And I think I mentioned this before. I've not been a big fan of Street Fighter. I liked Street Fighter 2, but kind of like fell off after that. But Street Fighter 6 is really looking like it might be my jam. And so there's a good chance I'm gonna I own all the Street Fighter games, but not because I want them. I own them because people like to play them at game and at conventions that I work at, and so I need the game for those. This one might be the first Street Fighter game I've bought in 20 years that I want.
Where on the other hand, I said I like the Street Fighter franchise, but I haven't played a fighting game really seriously in a long time either. So
yeah, June 2nd, 2023. They had a new trailer that featured some characters: DJ, Menon, Marissa, JP, and others. I don't know the franchise well enough to tell if those are new characters or pre-existing characters, returning fighters.
Yeah, those sound like ones I remember.
Yeah, I don't recognize any of the names, but that doesn't mean a lot. I know a few of the characters.
But
I know the classics: Blanca, Ryu.
So I haven't played seriously since 4, so.
Oh yeah.
So there's a couple behind.
We got a kind of a heartbreaking trailer for Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League because it featured Kevin Conroy.
Pretty much his last project, probably.
Which, as I understand, this is his final performance he was able to do. And in this trailer, there was this funny moment where it had it had a moment where like Harley Quinn, it has the squad, and they're going into some hiding area, like out indoors, and they got like an unconscious Flash for some reason, and Harley Quinn bumps into a cardboard cutout of Batman, not realizing it's a cardboard cutout at first, and as she bumps into it, she gets spooked and punched it in the face. And then she stops and looks around it. I think it's harder than cardboard. I think it's just like wood, because she punched it and it did not break.
But for those who don't know, Kevin Conroy is one of the more famous voice actors to have played the Dark Knight Batman.
Yeah, he's been playing the voice of Batman since the 90s.
He's one of the essential voices of the Batman.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, at the end of the trailer, after we heard Batman doing the "I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman." It had like the text on the screen that says "Thank you, Kevin."
He even showed up as live action Batman in the Crisis crossover.
Yes, yep, he had to be a live action old man Bruce Wayne for a little bit. Interestingly, though, because the Suicide Squad is tasked with killing the Justice League because the Justice League has gone evil for some reason. I don't know why yet. My thinking is Brainiac related. I don't know.
Probably.
But I think it showed Batman kill someone because there was a guy that was running at a terror, and then Batman like scoops him up into the shadows, and Harley's like, don't worry, guys, it's Batman. He doesn't kill people." And then the body of the guy comes down on the ground, and there's like some groaning sounds. I'm like, okay, I don't know if that guy's just like releasing his final breath here or not, but he's kind of twisted unnaturally. And then Batman like drops down and has like red lights behind him with the Arkham logo behind his head, and he's got like a remote detonation button of some kind in his hand. It's like, oh, what the fuck's about to happen? But they're not gonna like it. It's a scary moment. Evil Batman is one of the scariest things in DC.
When you piss off the Dark Knight.
It's so scary they had like a 2-year run on the evil Batman.
Then we got an actual clip, the first Super Mario Brothers movie clip that they put out. That it's like a 2.5-minute clip, and the song that's playing in the background music itself is referencing almost every Mario game for like the last 30 years. It is wild.
We would play the clip except for the fact that music is probably copyrighted and
yes.
would stop us.
Yeah, you never. There's three companies you never want to. There's three companies you never want to fuck with the legal system in. That is Disney, Nintendo, and Toho. You do not mess with any of those because they will shut your ass down.
They will.
Hard.
They will hardcore. That's why when we do play things on this show, as far as previews and stuff, they're always muted just because we never know if something copyrighted is going to come out.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, just as an aside, if you watch the 3rd episode of Willow, the end of the movie has somebody singing Enter Sandman. I mean, the end of the episode has Enter Sandman, just to show you never know what kind of copyrighted stuff is going to show up. That's why we got to be real careful.
Yeah. God, that show's been great. All right. Moving on to I would recommend people though give this movie a chance. This game or this show is looking like it's perfect, or this movie, the Super Mario Brothers movie, really looks to me like it's nailing.
Well, it looks like it's an homage to the entire Mario franchise.
Yeah.
It is actually honoring all parts. It's got Mario Kart in it. It's got Donkey Kong in it. It's got Smash Brothers.
Yes.
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 It's got everything in the Mario franchise, and that is so quintessentially Nintendo.
I need at the end of this movie for there to be like a Smash Bros. Like symbol portal that opens, and Kirby comes through, and he's like, "Mario, you need to come with me." And then
okay, like there's so many like little touches. Like one thing about this was there was like there's this bit where you've got like a bunch of these toads that are like, it looks like they're drawing money from an ATM. They're standing underneath these coin blocks and hitting them repeatedly and getting like handfuls of coins to carry away. And they're like lined up to do this. And like I think these blocks are like how they access their bank accounts. And these coins is their I mean, obviously coins is the currency, but I think this is how it works in the Mushroom Kingdom.
And then there's the line in there from the preview, and it's like, what do you want us to do? We're adorable.
Yeah. But yeah, this trailer is mostly showing like it's got Toad showing Mario through like the market square, trying to leading him to the castle, the princess castle, and like he's trying to like clear the way, and he's like yelling at the others. He's like, "Clear the way, make through. We gotta get through. This guy's brother's gonna die." He turns to Mario. "It's okay. I'm just trying to clear the path. Your brother's gonna be fine. I'm sure. We got a dead man walking."
Oh my God!
Can I say that Bowser is legitimately intimidating?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
good because they could have made him so hokey.
Jack Black carries such a weight with him in this role. It's strange, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bowser looks really good in this. I am so looking forward to this movie. In fact, last night I finally broke down and got an annual movie pass so that I can go see unlimited movies with one companion ticket. So I can go with any one guest any time up to one a day over at Alamo. So that will be one of the movies I watch on my movie pass.
Nice. So, all right. So our next thing is Tekken 8, which has a bit of a controversial announcement here because the trailer, they showed a new trailer for Tekken 8, which featured a number of characters like King, Paul, Lars, Martial Law, Jack A. Those names do matter something to me because Tekken is one of my favorite fighting game franchises, and I've played all of them. I know enough of Tekken that whenever it showed a woman in all white with black hair and like a little black thing, I was like, "Is that June?" I said it like 3 times. Like, "Is that June?" I'm pretty sure that's June. Why do we have June? Because Jun Kazama is a character that died after Tekken 2, at the end of Tekken 2. And now we're on Tekken 8. Tekken 2 came out in like 1998, 1997, 1998, somewhere mid-90s.
But video games are like comic books. You can never permanently kill a character.
Yeah. And other characters haven't surprised me as much, but Jun Kazama has been like, I mean, she's been dead for, almost 20 years.
It might be a Mortal Kombat Armageddon situation.
I don't know, but yeah, like I mean, it's picking up the story after, and I'm wondering if she's like actually back, or if her son Jin is just like having hallucinations of his mom. I don't know. But she'll be playable. They announced that she'll be a playable character in this game, which like she has appeared as a playable character in Tekken Tag Tournament. But Tekken Tag wasn't really a canon story thing. That was just kind of like get all the fighters grouped together like Armageddon or Trilogy or something in Mortal Kombat era stuff. Get all the fighters together, let them tag out, things like that. It wasn't really following the storyline. It's just anyone that you could get in there. You get all the different versions of Jack, which normally there's only like a couple of versions. There's usually 2 or 3 different iterations of Jack in each game. There's like 15 different versions, but you only usually have 2 or 3 in each game.
And saying she's a playable character doesn't mean she's not like some optional unlock that you get later.
Yeah.
And that could be because they'll unlock special characters. So.
And as you'd hope, the fighting looks great too. So I'm stoked for this. I don't believe, and yeah, it doesn't look like they announced a release date for Tekken 8, but some cool new cinematic stuff and gameplay that they've dropped for that game. And the shocking news of Jun Kazama coming back after all this time.
I just want to see Yoshimitsu's story continue.
Yo, sure. All right. Horizon Forbidden West is getting DLC coming out in April called Burning Shores. It takes place in Hollywood, or the Horizon equivalent of Hollywood. The Hollywood sign is still up, at least until the trailer happens and a robot starts tearing it apart.
And it's exclusive for the PS5, so it's not coming out for any of the other platforms.
Well, yeah, it won't be coming out for PS4. Horizon is a PlayStation exclusive game, and so it means it won't be coming out on the PS4. So this will be next-gen exclusive DLC for a game that's on both platforms. Which that does have some controversy because, unlike Cyberpunk, the PS4 version of this game ran really well. Obviously, the PS5 version runs better and has better visuals, blah, blah, blah. The PS4 version still ran without major problems, like the Cyberpunk did on the old gen version. So people are a little surprised about this being PS5 exclusive. I'm a little surprised, but not. I'm a little bit surprised, but not shocked, if that makes sense. Just like a little bit.
We talked about this a little bit. Like, it's about time they stopped PS4 support. PS5's been out for long enough.
Ooh, Geekatard's here, by the way. How you doing? Oh, and speaking of which, I forgot to tell you guys, but Geekatard came by Wednesday night when I was streaming and said he only missed us last week because he had to work late.
Yeah, Gigatard. The Burning Shores DLC, yeah, as I was saying, is PS5 exclusive DLC.
Yeah.
But yeah, looks. Well, I guess I should just say it's in Los Angeles, taking Aloy to the future Los Angeles.
And Hollywood is part of LA, so yeah.
Our next item on the list, I was really excited for a little while, but then kind of came down on it. Crash Bandicoot has a new game coming out called Crash Team Rumble, which I was excited for a new Crash Bandicoot game, but this Team Rumble is a 4 versus 4 multiplayer game coming out next year, where you got two squads that are slide, smash, bump, and bash as a team to be the first, FURST, to bank the most Wampa fruit in the drop-off zone, while simultaneously defending the opponent's team's drop zone. That doesn't necessarily scream out to me. If it comes out at a discount price, I'll give it a try. If it gets put on Game Pass or something, I'll play it.
It is an Activision game, so that is a game worth boycotting.
Yeah, it'll be boycotted until that happens.
Until Activision cleans up.
Thanks for mentioning that. Thanks for bringing that up, because I was about to forget about that detail. So yeah, it's boycotted until then, but even then, like, I'm really excited for Diablo 4. I'm not very excited for Crash Team Rumble.
Yeah.
So I guess that asterisk of boycott didn't mean as much to me on this particular game, but you're absolutely right.
Geekatard, you weren't here for that.
I spent a lot of money on Diablo 3 because I bought it for like 3 different platforms. And I also bought 4 Loot Goblin amiibos because I love Diablo 3 so much. So it is actually kind of unfortunate that Diablo 4 is coming up. I'm not going to be able to play it, but I do agree. Like, it's even more heartbreaking about the stories of these people having the conditions they're working.
Yeah, just to catch you up, Geekatard, since you joined us after we'd said it before. We are, as the 3 of us at least, and several other people are boycotting Activision Blizzard until they stop their misogynistic, abusive, toxic behavior to their employees and others. Basically, till they restructure and get rid of certain key individuals that are ringleaders of this behavior.
Yeah.
Until they do fix it, we're not going to patronize their property.
It sucks because I have to say, like, some of the new Call of Duty content looks like a lot of fun, and I want to play them, but I'm not touching them until after we get past the boycott. Yeah, I agree, Geekatard. Justice does need to be served. Unfortunately, there won't be justice. These people have too much money. They'll be forced out of the company with a golden parachute, but at least they won't be in charge, and then we can have responsible people in control again.
Wish I could knock some holes in that parachute, but anyway.
Yes, right. All right. So our next game, Warhammer 40,000: Space Marine 2, was announced with some gameplay footage. Not really my game, but for folks who like the Warhammer 40K Space Marine game, have a sequel to look forward to. It's supposed to come out sometime next year on all platforms.
Yeah, for fans of tabletop wargaming, Warhammer 40K is probably the current gold standard for tabletop. So the electronic versions that are coming out are really popular in that arena.
Yeah. So yeah, this is.
I'd say it's the only real competitor that needs aside from Pathfinder, like in terms of how popular it is.
Well, yeah, this
Pathfinder,
is tabletop
Warhammer.
wargaming as compared to, like, Warhammer Fantasy role-playing is one of the competitors with D&D. You're right there. But this is Warhammer 40K, which
No,
is
I know.
yeah.
I was just making a statement of how popular.
Yeah.
So the next item we've got here is so there was a game that came out several years ago called Celeste. That was a big hit. The creator of that game has a new game coming out called Earthblade, and we got our first look at that. It's it's a 2D explore action game. It's described here, gorgeous art style, and I agree. It just looks like a piece of art that you can play. For like a 2D action kind of game. I haven't played Celeste, so I don't know much about it. I think, Angel, I believe you played it, right?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
So
it was a platformer. It really mattered about timing and stuff like that. The controls are probably some of the best controls I've ever felt in a platformer. Like, I don't think anything's ever topped it. How fantastic!
Wow, that's high praise.
So that developer has Earthblade coming out. They expecting it to, or they confirmed it's releasing in 2024. So you got a couple years on that one, or
a little over a year. Yeah.
Yeah, you got over a year. That's true. That's fair. Because we were at the very, very end of 2022. I got to remember how close to 2023 we are.
It's all over, but the fat lady singing, man. It's almost
yep.
done.
Our next item, I was a little bit of a surprise. There's a new Bayonetta game coming out next year. In 3 months. This game, there wasn't even rumors or anything about it, but a new game called Bayonetta Origins, Careza and the Lost Demon, was announced for the first time. Bayonetta 3 just came out in October, and now we got this Bayonetta Origins that's coming, that just got announced 2 months later, and it releases in March on Nintendo Switch, just 3 months from now. A little bit stunned at how close this is. It's not quite the same. It's a prequel game. It takes place before the original Bayonetta game, and the idea is it seems like it's going to show the story of how she became Bayonetta. Bayonetta is a franchise I've been wanting to get into, but never got around to it.
It's really good. I love the kind of like stylized action games like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta.
Yeah.
I live for those.
So now this game, this prequel game is going to be a very different art style to the other games. It's more zoomed out. It looks like it's more like a Hades kind of style gameplay, but I don't know for sure. So it's going to have like platforming and things like that. So it doesn't look like the other games.
That is a very different style.
Yes, it's a very different style game. But
does it feel like Darksiders Genesis to you?
Yeah, kind of, but with more of a cartoonish art style. Just from the brief preview that we got anyway, yeah. Our next game is a Hellboy game called Hellboy: Web of Weird, spelled W-Y-R-D. It will be coming out. Did they give a release date? No, but it is based on Mike Mignola's Hellboy, and it is going to be a roguelite action adventure with an original story. This game had me excited until the words roguelite got mentioned, and then I kind of lost interest immediately.
I see, now that excites me because I love roguelikes.
Yeah. So the art looks cool, the gameplay looked cool, everything about it seemed really neat, and then they said roguelite action, and I immediately lost all interest in the game.
So what roguelite means? And you're saying roguelite and not roguelike, which means
I'm
that,
saying it on purpose. This is roguelite with a T.
Yeah. So just so anyone who doesn't know does know the difference. Generally, the outline of the places that you're going to be fighting and the placement of enemies are going to change, but all of your weapons and skills that you've acquired are going to stay the same. So that's what you're going to be able to hold on to those. So that's what roguelite means.
Yeah. So, yeah, coming to PS4, PS5, Series X, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. So everywhere, except for
Wow.
Game Boy or whatever, everything that's
Game Boy
everything
is
that's
That's
still
a
being
deal
the only
breaker.
ones left out.
everything that's
Yeah.
still being manufactured. Um, and
We need a petition, Mike, to release it on Game Boy too.
yeah,
Well, we
all right.
won't pay for it.
So here's one that kind of came out of left field by publisher 505 Games. This new game called Crime Boss Rock A City, which is kind of it sounds kind of like a GTA kind of a game where you're playing as a crime boss in the 1990s Florida, like Miami area. The craziest thing about it is the cast they got for this.
Yeah.
They got Michael Madsen, who's been in a bunch of things. I mostly know him from the Kill Bill movies as the cowboy guy. Chuck Norris, Danny Glover, Kim Basinger, Danny Trejo, and Vanilla Ice.
That's a heck of a cast.
Yeah. Like every time another name popped on the screen, I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now?
They're not current A-listers necessarily, but they're past A-listers. They don't all have like current A-list projects, but they've been in the A-list before. Like Chuck Norris, you have to know Chuck Norris. And
I mean, Danny Trejo, I think, is
Danny
still very
Trejo
active.
is one of the ultimate extras. He's up there with like Steve Buscemi and some of the others as an extra that you really love in your movies. Danny Trejo is
No.
if you need a
big and his star.
All right, you sound like you're in a tornado shelter, Angel.
Yeah, but if you want a big, muscular Hispanic in your movie, Danny Trejo is like your first call.
Yeah. If you want someone that looks like a Mexican badass, you get Danny Trejo. So the kind of the general premise sounds like kind of a GTA kind of thing. Is you're a crime boss trying to like build a criminal empire, but it also is described as a stealth action first-person shooter. And your task is to become the leader of a criminal underworld. I'm not. There's a lot of confusing words put together, like a lot of really cool sounding words, but put together in a weird way. I don't know what to think of this game yet. I hope for the best. I mean, it's an awesome cast. I mean, I don't have any.
The cast
I don't have any,
is amazing. Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any love for Vanilla Ice, but I don't have any hate for him either.
No,
so it's fine.
He's okay. Yeah.
He's like a novelty from the '80s.
Yeah, he shows up every once in a while in a good novelty role. He was in that one with Adam Sandler. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah.
The name. Okay, there's a name that is criminally missing from the list on this website because Michael Rooker's in the game too.
Oh, Rooker's in the game.
Michael Rooker, which I almost forgot. He's in the game, but he's not on this list on the website. The people at IGN missed a very important name off of this list.
Yeah, he's more current as far as and more close to like current A-lister. Because he's in like the Marvel movies and does so much other work right now. He's working like crazy. So Mike Rooker should have been listed. I mean, I would have thought they would have wanted to list him because he's got more current credits than any of the others right now for current stuff. Rooker, they try to put him in everything they can.
Yeah. So moving on from that wackiness, there is a sort of a reboot coming out for Lords of the Fallen, with a new Lords of the Fallen game, which seems to just be called the Lords of the Fallen, that takes place 1,000 years after the original game in a world 5 times larger than the original. It's a RPG game set in a dark fantasy world. It's going to have kind of a Souls-like design for this game. It looks really cool. I personally probably miss out on it unless Elden Ring really sets a fire in my interest in the Souls-like style of games. But it got a big cheer at the event, so that's a good sign. Also, another person, something else I got a big cheer at the event was Animal from the Muppets. He made an appearance. Helped announce a winner of one of the awards or something. I forget what he did
Oh,
exactly,
that's
but
cool.
he was fun.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, we got a lot of like random like little things that happened on there. We got a live performance from a guy named Bear, who also he won an award for like the best soundtrack because of his work on God of War Ragnarok. Angel's a fan of the guy's work. I can't remember his last name. Anyway, moving on to our list. The PC version of The Last of Us Part 1 got a release date for March 3rd. I'm going to move past this one quickly. We
That's
know what The Last of Us
okay.
Part 1 is. PC version comes out in 3 months. A little over 2 months, I guess. Returnal announced for PC, which was an awesome PS5 exclusive title, coming out in 2023. They did not give a release date, but announced that it will be coming to PC next year. Genshin Impact. Oh, and then I guess we're getting into some of the awards here. Genshin Impact won Player's Voice at the awards. Oh, there was a kid that got arrested at the end of the show. So Elden Ring, when Elden Ring's dev team went up there to accept their speech, a kid snuck onto the stage with them, and the people of the staff for the event thought he was one of the developing team, and I imagine the developing team thought he was working for the event staff or something. But he went on stage and stood behind them as they gave their acceptance speech. And then at the last, at the very end, after they parted ways, he stepped to the up to the mic, and he said some shit like, "I'd like to give I'd like to nominate this award to my Reformed Rabbi Bill Clinton," or something like that.
So, do you know the history of this kid?
No.
I actually looked it up. He's actually not. This isn't the first time he's done something like this.
Oh, yeah?
He is known. Yeah, he's during the occupation from China in Hong Kong. During that entire ordeal, he raised a lot of attention towards that, and it was generally considered good. So two types of Jews exist. Orthodox, or there's more than two. I'm so sorry. The two of the
primary
types of Jews that exist are Orthodox and Reformed, and they're two separate kinds. But he said both Orthodox and Reformed Rabbi Bill Clinton, and apparently it was a meme that he and his friends made up. But I read an interview that a reporter did with the kid, and he said it is the most cringy, awkward interview, and the kid had nothing to say. And it was just like they're like you could have brought attention to a whole bunch of stuff, and yet you said a meme that no one else outside of your friend group would say. And it's just like he's like, I hope you look at this in like years.
Yeah.
And you're embarrassed.
So all right, so we got a new trailer for Baldur's Gate 3 with a release window of August 2023. We don't have an exact date, but here's what I'll say: Baldur's Gate 3, the trailer for that looks so damn good that I don't, I'm not a PC guy, so I didn't have Baldur's Gate anything, but now that I got a Steam Deck, during like a commercial break after watching the Baldur's Gate 3 trailer, I went onto my Steam Deck and bought and downloaded the first two Baldur's Gate games.
Yeah.
Plus, if you ever want to watch some Baldur's Gate, if you go to Satine Phoenix's channel, you can watch Satine Phoenix playing Baldur's Gate 3 during early access. He plays that periodically.
Yeah. Fontaine Phoenix is kind of like a very controversial figure.
Well, yeah, but for me and Lurch and several people in the game, we made good friends with her while she was.
Oh yeah, I talked to her too.
Yeah.
I
know there's some controversy out there, but you can still go and watch stuff on her channel, and I still personally support her as a person, and I would go watch. Also, you can see Felicia Day watch it on her channel, because Felicia Day also plays Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
So if you want some gameplay footage, other than
a little bit of stuff in case you guys didn't know, it's not just something that's based in the D&D universe. It is actually canon to the overall for like official, however official it could be, Forgotten Realms canon. it is official. So the
Yeah.
events that happen in the game are things that do transpire.
Yeah, which I have to admit, that is one of the things that encourages me to want to play it, because getting to know the world that I am playing a D&D campaign in another format sounds like a really cool, like a really good idea to me. You know,
the first two games take place in completely different timelines, but they are absolutely. I played Baldur's Gate 1. I've never played Baldur's Gate 2, and 1 was great. I loved it. I would suggest everybody play it.
2 is also great.
Yeah, it at least would help me learn about the world of the Forgotten Realms a little bit more.
You learn a lot about Baldur's Gate and Candlekeep.
Like you're talking about like the Neverwinter Forest, and this is like, man, this is all completely foreign to me. I don't know these places.
With Baldur's Gate, the franchise, you learn a lot about Baldur's Gate, Candlekeep, and the Sword Coast. Those areas of the Forgotten Realms are really explored.
I think our campaign, our D&D campaign, is like along the Sword Coast. So
yeah, our D&D campaign does currently take place there. The Baldur's Gate, where you were born as a Dragonborn isn't around there. So actually, you're not knowing the lore is actually kind of true to your character. But if you want to learn about the world in general, I do agree. Like Baldur's Gate taught me a lot about the gods a little bit.
Yeah.
And
a lot of Forgotten Realms lore is woven all the way through that franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to move on. So we got Forspoken, which is the new game coming out in January that I'm really looking forward to. It's a Square Enix action RPG game. I mean, they call it an RPG game, but all their RPG games have a lot of action to their gameplay now.
They're ARPGs, yeah.
The demo dropped the same day that the Game Awards happened, and I've downloaded the demo. I played it. I played it enough that I was like, yep, I am sold, and I bought the demo. I mean, I was already looking forward to it, and now that I got to play the demo, I'm like certain I'm gonna love that game. So I've anyone that has any inkling of interest in the Forspoken game, go onto the PlayStation Store and download the free demo now, and give it a try. There was also a trailer for Transformers Reactive. It's an online action game that I don't think it made any headlines. I don't think anyone cared. I didn't care. I didn't even realize I didn't even realize it's a Transformers game until the word Transformers came on the screen. That's a bad sign. Yeah.
Was it like the Michael Bay Transformers?
No, I don't think so. I don't even remember. Like, I don't even remember what the trailer happened in anymore. Like I feel like I feel like I just slept through that trailer. I barely feel like it was even thing. It almost feels like it's something someone told me about after the fact. I'm like, I watched the whole thing. I watched the entire event, and
wow, that is really sad.
Yeah, so it did not make an impression. And I'm not the only one. I was listening to a podcast later of people talking about it, and that was their whole program. They spent like an hour and a half, just 2 hours talking about the show. And they were like, when I got to the list and I saw Transformers, I was like, wait, when did the Transformers have a trailer? Like one of them said that. One of the two guys on the podcast was like, I don't remember that trailer happening. And the other one's like, yeah, it didn't mean a whole lot. It sucked. I didn't know what it was until. So yeah. But something that doesn't suck, it looked pretty cool, is this other game called Banishers Ghosts of New Eden, which had this really cool scene with this guy sitting at a table talking to the woman across from him. And she's like, so what is it you do again? You hunt ghosts? And he's like, yeah, in a matter of speaking. And what do you do with them? Do you kill them? Well, you can't really kill what's dead. And I don't quite remember how it is, but it's kind of this weirdly tense thing as you realize that the woman who's asking these questions herself is a ghost and doesn't know it.
Wow.
Yeah, and it looks like a cool game. The gameplay only got like a 2-second clip at the very end. The rest of it was like kind of story,
cinematic,
cinematic stuff. But it's a new action RPG game coming out by Focus Entertainment and Don't Nod. Those are companies. It says you play as a pair of ghost hunters, or starring a pair of ghost hunters. Banishers takes place in 1695 in the haunted wilds of North America, and follows these two who are romantically involved as they work to stop the threat of lingering ghosts and specters to protect the living.
So like
really
a
cool kind of concept, really cool trailer.
Kind of thing.
And it also, just that trailer kind of tells you that the people that are directing it understand, a little bit about tension, which is something I'm appreciating, like tension in a scene. And so they didn't give like anything else, no release date windows, anything like that. Just a new game announcement, and it's one I think to keep an eye on because it looks and sounds like a really promising title.
Cool.
Also, there was a new single-player first-person Magic Oh my gosh. Okay, single-player Magic first-person shooter called Immortals of Avium revealed. It takes place in a new original world. It's an EA original, coming from a group of devs that previously worked on Dead Space, Halo, and BioShock. Yeah, this game, I would just recommend taking a look at the trailer. It looks like it could be pretty promising. There's a lot of really promising looking stuff that was shown.
So that sounds like a great game that could very easily translate into VR too.
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
Well, it's got some first-person chops with people that worked on Dead Space and Halo and BioShock.
Yeah.
They know first-person.
Oh yeah. They know how to make a first-person game.
So,
first-person shooting game for sure.
If you're into FPSs, those are like the people you want on behind it.
But remember, it's a first-person Magic game.
Right, which means it might interest somebody like me more because of Magic.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, Elder Scrolls was really kind of a first-person Magic thing when it first came out. You were a first-person kind of caster or sword fighter, so it was a fantasy first-person. And Daggerfall was especially good with that. And that's more of my idea of a good first-person game, is that kind of behind-the-shoulder first-person view, go around using your weapons kind of thing. So,
if it's over your shoulder, that's third person.
It
depends on how close to the shoulder you consider it, but because
I mean, if you see any of the body other than the hands,
all you see in Daggerfall, all you see is the hands.
Oh yeah, that's first person.
I think of that as over the shoulder.
Yeah.
But that's really first person. Because in Daggerfall, all you saw was your hands, and one hand would have like a wand, and the other hand would have.
Yeah. So in the trailer, there's this kind of magic warfare going on, and you're coming out of a building, and there's fireballs or whatever blowing up pieces of a castle, and you put out your left hand, creating what looks like some sort of a magical shield in front of you, and in your right hand, you're opening up, and it's got this blue spiral thing and a cube in the middle of your hand. It doesn't show much for gameplay. It's a new announcement, so it's really just a CG kind of trailer thing, but the premise looks promising, and the team behind it sounds like a team that really knows how to make this kind of mechanic work. So the more interesting things that we can do with Magic, the better.
Don't want to cut too much short. I don't know how much more you got on this, but it's already after 10 o'clock.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's already at 10:03.
I made it.
I'm about 3 minutes away from home.
I'm about 2/3 of the way through this list.
Oh God.
Okay.
We might have to call it
the rest
there
next week. We'll start next week with the rest of this. So I'll keep it in the queue, and I'll keep it at this part of the page, and we'll pick up. We'll finally do the end of Stargirl next week, and we'll talk some about Willow. Other than that, we might have a couple of small topics, but those will be our focuses next week. And just to let people know, me and Angel talked about this a little bit. Possibly the first show in January, we'll try to do a recap of the year show where we'll talk about, past exploits, past Prime D&D moments, past things from 2022. We'll talk about Geekmas, we'll talk about game and stuff. So that'll be the January 3rd episode is what we're thinking of doing, something like that. Otherwise, we'll catch everybody else here next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. And everybody have a great holiday. And next week will probably be, we probably won't have a show the following week for Christmas so that everybody can take Christmas week off. So next week we'll have a show, but the week after we will not. Just take a week off for the holiday. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah.
So happy holidays for everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, Geekatard, for being our #1 fan. We love you. Insightful as always, thank you so much. We do appreciate hearing that from you. You are, like I said, our #1 fan. You show up to more shows than just about anybody. Remember to tell your friends. If you want to see old episodes, go to YouTube and search Gamer Stews, and you will find the old episodes in the Game Time playlist on YouTube. And we'll catch everybody next week. Have fun, everybody, and remember, play more games.
Yep. Yeah. Peace out.
Peace out.
Bye.